Today, I want to discuss a fundamental concept in ethical theory known as the greatest happiness principle. This principle is central to a teleological approach, specifically consequentialist moral theory, which emphasizes the importance of consequences in ethical decision-making. At its core, the greatest happiness principle is grounded in the intrinsic good of pleasure or happiness. This means that actions are considered morally right if they promote the greatest amount of happiness or pleasure. There are various types of satisfaction that we consider, including physical, aesthetic, and intellectual pleasures. An important aspect of this calculation is that it is neither egocentric nor purely altruistic. Everyone affected by an action is to be counted equally. This means that no one's happiness is considered more important than anyone else's. To determine the most ethical act, we must measure, count, and compare the pleasure experiences likely to be produced. This process involves a calculation where we consider several elements. The net amount of happiness, this is the total pleasure minus any pain. Its intensity, how strong is the pleasure? Its duration, how long will the pleasure last? Its likelihood, how probable is it that the pleasure will occur? Its fruitfulness, will this pleasure lead to more pleasure in the future? However, there are several challenges to this utilitarian approach. First, can we equally count every individual in all situations? For example, how do we weight the happiness of saving the life of a Nobel laureate against that of a street sleeper? Second, can all kinds of pleasure or happiness be determined quantitatively? If we can measure the pleasure of a human and a pet dog, does it make sense to compare them directly? Third, would people generally prefer to be a human rather than a pet dog? This question highlights the complexity of comparing different types of pleasure. Fourth, if the answer to the second question is yes, an inconsistency arises. It is either unequal treatment on different beings exist, or not all pleasures or happiness, for example, the uniqueness of human being, can be calculated. These all challenge the foundation of this ethical theory. Finally, the question of, is ought, or, can should. This is exemplified by the trolley problem, where we must decide whether to take an action that will save more lives, but involves making a difficult moral choice. In conclusion, while the greatest happiness principle provides a structured way to think about ethical decisions, it also presents significant challenges. These challenges remind us that ethical decision-making is complex and often requires us to balance competing values and considerations. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to our discussion on this topic.